Hello again, class. In this video, we're going to continue working with an Illustrator. So I already have a document opened up. What I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull, which I already have right here. I want to make sure that I have my different shapes. And to start off, I want you to create some overlapping shapes. I'm just going to go ahead and use my ellipse tool. And I'm just going to create, you just need at least two overlapping shapes, kind of like a Venn diagram, if you remember those. How they're overlapping. Here, if you want to, you could also add like a third one. I want to remind you that as you're creating a shape, if you want to change the placement, you could always press and hold down, as long as you're holding down the mouse button, don't let go of it, the left mouse button, press and hold down spacebar, and you could change the placement. Say I want this one to be right here, and then let go of the spacebar, and you're back to creating, and I'm just going to go ahead and let go of the mouse button. I have these three shapes, and what I want to do, I want to show you how you could use what's called the Shape Builder tool to create some more complex shapes. So what we need to do, we need to switch to our selection tool and go ahead and select the shapes that are overlapping. Very important, you want to make sure that they're overlapping. When you select them, notice that you could see their wireframe. You could see that my layer, it's a red layer, so the color, you could see through it. And I also changed my colors previously from the default color to these orange and green, just so that you could actually see it. Because if I have, I'm going to go ahead and just temporarily switch it to my default black and white. It makes it a little bit harder to see because white on white. I'm just going to go ahead and go edit undo to bring back my previous style. But with these selected, if you want to change the color, you may go ahead and do so. I want to focus on a tool which is located right here, the Shape Builder tool. Keyboard shortcut Shift M. With this tool selected, I'm going to go ahead and click on it. What this does, depending on, if you notice as I go over the shape, that this tool is it's kind of like a really powerful, but it's an interactive tool. And say, for example, what if I want all these shapes to be separate? I'm going to click right here. Click. And what it does, it basically evaluates the areas, the different shapes that are there, and say it's going to connect them. Say I want this one to be, or separate them, I should say. I'm going to click on this one, and now this is a separate shape. Now I'm really going to be able to see the difference once I've connected, or once I let go. But another functionality is you see these shapes right here. If I click and hold down the mouse button, the areas that are highlighted now become one shape. So now notice that we have these four different shapes. I'm going to switch to my selection tool. Everything is selected. I'm going to go ahead and click elsewhere just to deselect. And now I could select each one separately. I'm just going to move them off to the side, kind of separating these shapes. So Illustrator allows you to create some more complex shapes from these base shapes. In essence, this is some of the functionality that it has. So if you want to go ahead, and you do not need to use the same shapes. Say for example, I'm going to go ahead and use my rounded rectangle. Let me go ahead and create a different shape right here. And it does not need to necessarily fall within the artboard. Let me go ahead and use my star tool. What if I want a couple of stars in the top corner right here? I want this one, and let's create another small one right next to it. Great. And remember, my stroke value is really large. So if I want to, I'm going to select this one selected. I'm going to select this one. And here, you know what? Let me go ahead and just change it to my default black and white. What if I want this to just be like a hole, like it looks like how it is? The problem is in that in this instance, I'm going to go ahead and select all of these shapes. What if I want that area to look like it's a hole? The problem is it's not. It's an actual star on top of it. So I'm going to go ahead and select all of these shapes, and this time using my shape builder tool. If I just click on each one of these stars, and now I'm going to go ahead and click on this shape. I'm going to go ahead and delete it. and I click on this one, delete it as well, as I move it off to the side, I can now see that there is an actual hole there. I'm going to go ahead and drop my stroke value, or I could just get rid of my stroke value altogether. And you can see that this is now an actual shape within my shape that I originally created. And even though it's already created, say for example, let me go ahead and what if I, on the corner right here, I'm going to use some of my keyboard shortcuts. I want to cut off like a nice, perfect 1/4 circle. I'm going to, keyboard shortcuts. I'm going to hold down on this intersection, uh, Option on a Mac, Alt on a PC, and then I'm going to hold down Shift. I'm going to go up right here. This creates a perfect circle from the radius, from the center, and say I want this right here. I'm going to go ahead and use my selection tool to select these two shapes, and say with my shape builder tool, I could just click right here, and now there are 3 separate pieces. If I want these to be still united, I could go ahead and do something like this, but I don't. I'm going to go ahead and use my keyboard shortcuts to undo, or edit, Command Z or Control Z on a PC. But by clicking on this one, they're separate, and I'm going to switch back to my selection tool. Everything's selected. I want to deselect. I could click on this piece. I can now delete it. And now I have something that looks like this, where I'm using the positive and the negative. If I just want this piece by itself, I could always select this one, and I could go ahead and delete it. And I have something like this. Using this tool, the Shape Builder tool, you're able to create some more complex shapes. So we're going to continue to examine how we can use the Shape Builder tool to create some, using some of these basic shapes to create some more complex shapes. So we'll be doing that within the next video tutorial. So I want you to go ahead and explore using this tool, experiment, create multiple shapes, and then have fun with the Shape Builder tool. Create some more complex shapes from these more simpler shapes. I'll see you in the next video.